Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. We'll be talking about being Black behind the camera and expanding the lens on Black crews. This is a first part of the Young Entertainment Activists, also known as YAYs, panel. We have a lot of amazing, beautiful Black, below the line people you should know or already know, of course. My name's Ari Brown. I work at APA as a physical production agent, and I rep the likes of, the roles that we don't normally talk about or normally even know. Some of our phenomenal speakers today are Toni Barton, who's a production designer who started her career designing scenery for both theater and short films while studying architecture and doing design work at a themed architecture and industrial set design firm. She recently designed Netflix's Archive 81, great film, also just watched that, and Outside of Time, a short film by British Nigerian artist Jin Nkuru, installed in the Metropolitan Museum of Art's Afro-Futurist Period Room exhibit. Over the past few years, Toni has designed season 1 of the ABC episodic legal drama For Life, the pilot episodes of ABC's Stumptown, and the last season of Marvel's Jessica Jones. All great shows, all amazing builds, especially as a production designer. We have Francine Jamison-Tanchuck. She's a costume designer whose career has spanned over 35 years, and she has over 40 films credits to her name, including Just Mercy, Detroit, Roman J. Israel, Big Mommas House, Sister Act 2, Courage Under Fire, and Glory. Can I name even more if need be?
One Night in Miami.
Oh, One Night in Miami. That's massive. Okay. We also have the amazing Warren Perfoy, who I know as like my sports brother, and I love dearly, and I haven't been able to work with him yet.
Likewise.
He's a Gaffer who was born in Compton. He joined the film business as a set lighting technician and is currently the owner of a lighting company and one of the top industry gaffers in television in the commercial world. I can attest to that. And he's always booked and busy and very hard to work with in a good way. Next, we have Greg Hedgepath. He's a supervising sound editor in Los Angeles who has worked at Skywalker Sound, Sony Studios, and has credits some iconic films, including creating the sound of tornadoes in Twister, and as a sound designer of the Academy Award-winning film Speed. He has worked on over 90 films, including Blade, Frozen, The Incredible Hulk, The Hunger Games, Selma, Straight Outta Compton, and Coming to America. Welcome, Greg.
Thank you.
Last and not least, I've heard so much about Shawn from my other First AD clients. So we have Shawn Pipkin West, who's a First AD and has been a DGA member since 2004, and with First AD credits on Dreamgirls, Longest Yard, Family Stone, and Beyond the Lights, as well as shows like The West Wing, special for HBO Max, and Michelle Obama's When We All Vote organization, Grey's Anatomy, For the People, Shots Fired, Community, Friday Night Lights, and of course, like there's so many other credits. So I'm gonna let you guys take it away a little bit. Please remember to, if you're comfortable, say your pronouns, describe what you look like for our, our audience out there that is visual impaired. Thank you so much.
Okay, I guess I'll go ahead and start since you ended. Hi, Shawn Pipkin West. She, her pronouns. I am African-American, female. I live in Los Angeles. And I just like to say, oh, by the way, something that you didn't mention, Ari, and it may have, I don't remember if this was in the bio or not, but I'm currently working on the Untitled Lion King project, which is the prequel with Barry Jenkins right now. So that is what I'm currently working on. Very excited about that. I am a first assistant director, a member of the DGA, Directors Guild of America, and I am also associate member on the national board of the Guild. I'm an ADUPM council member, as well as Women's Steering Committee co-chair. And I am newly appointed to the DGA Safety Committee. So I really like what was mentioned earlier about safe working conditions. So I feel very strongly about that. And I'm also on the DGA PAC committee, Political Action Committee. So I am definitely an activist in all sense of the word. And I'm very happy to be here, and thank you so much for inviting me.
Thank you, Shawn. Maybe Toni, we'll have you go next.
Toni Barton, my pronouns are she, her. I'm originally from Los Angeles, grew up in Washington, D.C. I live in New York City. I work as a production designer. Initially worked as an assistant art director, production designer. I don't have a list as long as Shawn's, but I'm intrigued to be on this panel, so thank you.
Amazing. Francine, can we have you go next?
Okay, my name is Francine Jamison-Tanchuck. I'm a costume designer, member of the Costume Designers Guild in California, and I am a member of the United Scenic Artists in New York. I really have probably more credits than over 40. I mean, through the industry, and it's probably close to over 40 years instead of 30 years of working in the film industry, from apprentice to designer. And I am a member of really certain organizations that one is Girls Inc., so we can really empower young women. I'm also working with Ruth Carter, Sharon Davis, and Michelle Cole, the four of us costume designers and friends, on a scholarship fund that is called Mildred Blount. When Mildred Blount was a milliner in the industry some years ago, back in the 40s and 50s, who was not allowed into any of the guilds. So we feel to honor her with a scholarship fund for up and coming young costume designers, or whatever, and possibly people of color, but it doesn't have to totally is for that. So, and I'm extremely really proud of everyone on this panel. I just think that the expansion of people of color and women in this industry is just, it makes me smile. And so I am very, really honored to be here. And I just very honored that you invited me. So thank you.
Thank you. Warren, can we have you go next?
My name is Warren Purfoy, and my pronouns are he, him. I already spoke to it. I was born in Compton, California, grew up in Watts and South Central. And I am a member of 728, which is the Lighting Technician Union. I'm a gaffer, and I've done, I can't even count how many major TV commercials, from Super Bowl commercials to short films, a few features and whatnot. And I am very excited to be a part of this panel. So thank you.
Thank you, Warren. Greg, I'll have the best go last.
Oh, right. They're the oldest. Hi, I'm Greg, and I'm a supervising sound editor, originally from Washington, D.C. And I started out at National Public Radio in Washington, D.C. and worked there 6 years as an engineer, and did a lot of recording. While I was there, I went to the Eastman School of Music and took courses in advanced music recording. And then a friend of mine happened to call one day, and they had a job at Lucasfilm, and I jumped at that. 2 weeks later, I quit my job, packed my stuff, moved to California, and moved to Beverly. And so I started working at Lucasfilm, and up there I got to work with people I'd only dreamed of working with: Steven Spielberg and Coppola, and of course George Lucas, but also a lot of talented sound people who were beginning then and are now legendary in our business. So it was great. So I guess later I'll explain what a sound supervisor does. But anyway, I've been blessed to have been in this business for to have been in sound for over 40 years, and yeah, and I've just done some incredible projects. And when I look back on my footprints, and I think now it's time to, you know, take a hand and, you know, bring some other people up and bring more into the business, because Hollywood, unfortunately, even though I think they meant what they said when George Floyd passed away, that's been kind of forgotten, gone by the wayside. So it's really up to us to do more for our people.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Craig. So I want to get this started, of course, by learning about how we even got to the positions that we're in. Did we even know we wanted to be costume designers, production designers, first ADs, gaffers, sound, all of that? Like I personally, I kind of always knew I wanted to be an agent in some fashion or form. I thought I was going to be a sports agent, but I decided against that when it just didn't seem like fun anymore. And then I found out that my brother had an agent and he's a cinematographer. And I was like, oh, well, that works for me. So that was basically my short form of how I even got started. Where did you guys even, what sparked it?
Well, for me, what sparked it is I really knew that I wanted to do something with clothing. I wasn't sure if it was fashion design, and being a movie buff, I just really enjoy films and movies. So it's kind of interesting, and also history. So it's kind of wonderful that my career is melded together with history, and because I do quite a few period films, and as well, you know, in the film industry, and it is just something about costume design in which you are creating costumes and really costumes. It's not just clothing, it's really a costume. Whether it's a t-shirt and jeans is something that is developing a character. So anything that is for a character that goes on the body of a character is really a costume. And a lot of us in the film industry as costume designers and costumers and people that are work in the costume department, we are trying to totally eliminate the terminology of wardrobe or wardrobe people, because that is getting, it is also really, you know, a little bit form of a disrespect, because we are not, it's not about wardrobe. And if you really went to a wardrobe, it is a place where you put clothing in. It is not really what we do. We are costume designers and costume supervisors, key costumers, and people within the department in order to achieve a character, to make sure that costume is bringing that character to the screen. And I started actually sewing at 7 years old. My mother taught me, and pretty much every form of hand sewing, embroidery, crocheting, and all of those different things. I mean, she taught me how to tat, but I did not keep that up. It's a little bit tedious, and some things I just really didn't have the time. But I have been able to, especially with Birth of a Nation, I was able to bring my embroidery and knitting and those particular aspects that I know how to do to the film, because it was a lower budget, it was a modest budget, so it wasn't, and I enjoy doing it. But that is really what I wanted to do at a very young age, because it's about being creative, and I love the idea of taking textiles, taking fabrics and molding them into something and really being able to have them. So that's really how, for me, that was my start.
Anyone want to go next? Shawn, maybe?
Yes, thank you, Ari. I'm gonna date myself here. The first time I really got into, like Francine, I loved film, I loved television. When I was growing up, going to the movies was a treat for our family. It was like, you know, we tried to do it every weekend. It was just one of those things that I just enjoyed, and you know, in watching television at night, a whole family affair, watching TV shows, and the TV show that really sparked my interest, and I can say was really planted the seed about getting this business. I know many people here, maybe not too many people watching, attendees, but it was The Fall Guy. It was an ABC show with Lee Majors. He used to be the $6 Million Man. He played a stunt man / bounty hunter. I was really interested in the stunt man part of it, just seeing the behind the scenes. And that just really just blew me away. Like, I was like, oh, wow, that is so amazing. And has one of the best theme songs in television history, by the way. But so that is really it. I worked on the East Coast in another industry. That didn't work out. I moved back home to Texas with my family, and I said, I'm going to just do what I've always wanted to do, pursue film and television. And I called the Houston Film Commission, which is where I'm from, and I talked to them, and they said, send me a resume. I said, it has no production or film experience or whatever. They said, it doesn't matter. 2 weeks later, I got called to be a PA on a Kroger commercial, and the rest is history.
Wonderful. Wonderful. That's quite unique. Greg, I know you touched on it a little bit, but if you have anything more specific that really pushed you up.
Oh, I could go on, but I'll be brief. I think I thought about it for the first time just now listening to everybody. I think what really sparked my interest was we had my father had a friend who was an audiophile guy, had a big stereo in his house. Back in the day when most people had monophonic record players, and I would go over this guy's house, and he had a pair of headphones. Nobody back then in the 60s had headphones. It was a thing. I was like, what are those? I put them on your head. Okay, put them on my head, played the music, and it just blew me away. And from that moment on, I was really interested in sound, just the fact that I could put it inside my head and hear all this detail. And so when I was in high school, junior high school, was in the AV crew, high school, light crew. When I went to college at the University of Maryland, I happened to walk by the radio station and saw this guy in a booth talking in a microphone. Like, what is that? Went inside, just that I became enamored with that. I thought I was going to be a DJ, and but instead got into the technical aspects as far as editing sound and that sort of thing. That led me to NPR, which led to Lucasfilm. And when I started at Lucasfilm, the whole time I wanted to be what's called a re-recording mixer. That's the guy who sits behind the console with all the faders, the screens in front of them. You always see them looking up like this, and they have the faders. And they're mixing the sound for the movie. They're putting together the music and the sound effects, the dialogue, the Foley footsteps, and all that stuff. And I wanted to do that. And all along the way, I was trying every avenue to get in there, and I did everything else. But I went to school for electronics for 2 years and got an AA degree in electronics, but still couldn't crack it. Came down to LA, got a job as a mixer at a place because I'd worked at Lucasfilm. But then after that, I started doing other things in the industry, more editing. And the reason I'm mentioning all that is because I realize now, excuse me, to do a lot of the things we do in this business, you don't need a college degree. College is great. If you can do it, you should do it because it's something to fall back on. But a lot of the people that I run into have no college degree, but they have knowledge that they've gained over the years. And so because I couldn't take that direct path into mixing, I learned all these other things around the job so that when I got into my job as a supervising sound editor, turned out I knew all the things I needed to do to supervise the sound for a movie. Plus I found that I knew things that other people didn't know. They don't have an electronics background. They didn't do all the things we did at Lucasfilm, go out in the field and record animals and all this stuff. So I just say to any aspiring people, don't just focus on one thing. If you know exactly what you're going to do, fine. I should say it differently. It's not that don't focus, but if you don't know exactly what you want to do, don't worry about it, but just learn as much as you can. And even if you become a director, but you've learned how to do costume design or sound, it's going to make you a better director. So that's some of my background. I'll stop here.
Warren, how did you get started? Like, where was the inspo?
There was no passion to do this whatsoever. But you know, it's like once I got into business, I came in under my father-in-law, who was, you know, a really big gaffer back in the days and for years. He did Beetlejuice and Christmas Vacation and all those, you know, big time movies back in the day. You know, I just, you know, learned my craft under him, and you know, for years and years, I was just, you know, just kind of a you know, type of electrician that would just, you know, bring the light in and put it where you want it, whatnot, until I really started wanting to learn more and more about lighting. And then I started asking him questions and whatnot. And once I actually started to see the light, which is, you know, a term we use when, you know, you have a gift for lighting. Once I start to see the light, I became more and more interested. And, you know, I kind of start studying light placement on my own in a weird type of way, because in my everyday life and anyone's everyday life, you know, you're walking around outside and you see where the sun is, you see where the shadows are falling. And that's kind of how I started learning about light placement, by looking at what the sun is doing, what it's doing to shadows, how to create long shadows, and you know, just started to create, you know, a lot of beauty on set. And you know, one of my things, you know, in this business is, you know, you get a lot of PAs that, you know, young PAs that come in, and you know, they really have no idea what they really want to do yet. And kind of to Greg's point, it's like, you know, just kind of stay open-minded to, you know, every facet of the industry, because, you know, you never know where you're going to land. And I'm constantly on every job teaching PAs, you know, anything they want to know. You know, they come up to me all day and every day, and I'll teach them about grip, teach them about lighting. You know, I tell them, you know, pay close attention to every department, because, you know, you never know where you're going to end up. You could be the next top producer. So I will be very nice to you right now. But, you know, it's just, it's a fun craft. And, you know, it grew on me as far as learning how to light, and just, you know, the challenge of lighting different skin tones and whatnot, you know, black, white, Mexican, whatever, you know, there is a art to it. You know, it's not just throwing light everywhere. You really have to be careful with what type of skin tone you're lighting. And I pay close attention to all of that in detail.
Thank you. Toni?
Hey, from a very young age, I wanted to be an architect. I knew nothing about the film industry at all. So at 6 years old, I met my first architect. He was a Black man, and that was it. That was all I wanted to do. I worked at an architecture firm in high school. I went to USC to study architecture. And while I was in college, you know, I was at a school that was a film school. So everybody around me was like, come design my play, come design my show, my short film, come design this. And it actually, I just thought of that as like fun, hanging out with friends. It wasn't until I was in, I think, a sociology class, and I read George Wolfe's The Color Museum, that I started understanding what set design was. Because when I read that play, I saw every single aspect of the scenery. And I'd never seen it, but I had never read something and could just visualize it, if that makes sense. And so I started taking some set design classes while I was in school, and then moved to New York and went to NYU for grad school. And, you know, basically wherever I could go, whatever I could learn from, not only because I was basically doing set design with theater and film, and every professor that I could, you know, go and see what they were doing, or if they were doing an opera or whatever, I would take all that in. As soon as I got out of school, now mind you, I'm in school, I have two classmates that are Black. One of them was studying art direction with me. So maybe about 3 or 4 years after I got out of school, I love seeing all this NYU alumni. About 2 or 3 years after I got out of school, a friend of mine was art directing a film. And he was like, we need some color on this film. So he brought me in as an assistant art director. And that was my intro. And literally on that film, the art department coordinator introduced me to, the next person on my next film, which was Mona Lisa Smile. And that art director became my film mom. And she took me on to do 5 other films, and she beat me up, and she, I learned so much under her, but I was bruised and abused afterwards. But I mean, from Mona Lisa Smile, I went on to do Hitch and Freedom Land, Sherlock Holmes, and Bounty Hunter with just this one art director. And while I was doing that, I was teaching at NYU. So I was teaching design in undergrad drama, and bringing on a lot of my former students as PAs, and just sharing the same things that were shared to me. So that was basically my intro. I had no knowledge of the film industry until I got to USC.
That's beautiful. That's unique and beautiful in its own ways. Which brings me to my next question for everyone is like, what's like the most challenging thing about your job, but also what's even the most rewarding thing? Because I know, Warren, you touched on the fact that like you get questions all day long, but it's like they're gonna go off and be something big and great, and you can be there to really help them out. But like, what are things that are just like, oh, this is so bothering, but it's just so rewarding? Anyone can take the floor on this one.
I think for me as costume design is how your work can touch other people. There are times that I really admire. My mother was a surgical nurse, so I admire the people in the medical field because I feel, they save lives, they help people, medically, and they really put people back on their feet. They repair bodies, and I thought, well, I'm really just in film. But then I have to say, I have met so many people in medical says, you have no idea what the film industry, just entertainment, just to sit down and watch a film, and you can be engrossed by that movie. And it does something to, in order for them to go out and continue what they do. So it does touch a lot of lives, and we get into many subject matters that touch people and educate people, and also because it's such a global industry, you have the opportunity to meet and really join in and have conversations with people around the world that are in your field and are just able to just enhance life and enhance the whatever subject matter that the film is regarding. And I think that's what I feel that for me is one of the most rewarding, that when there is being a part of a film and to be able to create a character and in creating that character, the costume, makeup, the hair, all come together to do that. And of course, every aspect of the film industry. Where would that character be without hearing them speak? Where would it be without the proper lighting and the production design, all of that behind it? And of course, our dear Shawn, where would it be if they didn't know what they were doing and where they were going? So I mean, every last one of us, we interconnect and we support each other, I think, in the film industry. And every department, we know what every department does because we all connect with each other. We have to, in a way, in order to bring that most wonderful project and the art of that, the moving art is what it is, to the screen. So I think, and it can be very difficult. Absolutely, it can be very difficult. We're not going to say that it's something that is easy. But I also feel that the challenge of it is kind of the really exciting part of it as well, because it forces you to feel, to go the distance. Or if you have a Probably, and then it depends on the budget, but then it also depends on if you don't have a lot of money. What do you do in order to make that particular film or make that particular character or that costume work? And that can be a challenge, and that also very, very rewarding. And how, like I said, how it can touch others and really educate people to more and more on what we all do in this industry and how we are so valuable behind the camera.
Thank you so much. Anyone else want to share what's been so challenging and rewarding?
Yeah, I can say that for me, you know, one of the most challenging things I think that all of us deal with is time. And we have a saying in the sound community that applies to everybody, but we're kind of at the tail end of the process. We say movies aren't finished, they're just taken away. You know, because we can keep pedaling up to the end and making it better and better, but you know, at some point, you know, you got to put the brakes on and say, okay, we're done. But for me, what I have to do is I have to look at every film and determine, well, of course, what story are we telling through sound? You know, it's obvious what the story is on screen, but sound can also tell a story, sometimes counter to what's going on. Everything can seem bucolic and beautiful, but you have this weird undertone that we put in there, and it can tell you that something's not right. For example, when I did Twister, each tornado was an individual element. Each one was a personality. I had to figure out what did it want to do. They were all trying to kill people, but each one sounded different. Some had animal sounds, some had trains, some had explosions, different things. But each one was its own individual pocket. Like right over here, I'm working on I guess it's a mini series about Mike Tyson. I think what is it called? I think it's called Iron Mike or Iron or something like that.
Iron Mike.
Iron Mike. So yeah, so what I'm doing is I'm working on episode 2. We're starting with that, and it goes through a progression of fights. So each fight is its own entity, but what story are we telling? Well, obviously he's getting better as he goes along, so the punches have to become more powerful as they go along. So what I'm doing is I'm starting from the tail end and working my way back. So I'm starting with the best stuff and the biggest stuff, and then, you know, making it a little bit lighter, a little bit different. You know, like the punches in the end, they're explosions, they're all kinds of stuff that aren't even punch related. But as we go back towards the beginning, it's going to get more like real punches, as opposed to this sound design stuff where you hear the bones crack and the blood spurt, and you know, there'll be less of that in the beginning. So the hard part is determining what each scene needs and what each film or TV show needs, and how and what story we're going to tell as we're, you know, going through that.
Wow. I can't even, like, my brain can't process the intricacies that goes into sound design. Like, I know it's beautiful, but like at the same time, it's like that's yeah. I applaud you for that, because my brain cannot hold that right now.
I will tell you this: once you get to a certain point, it's probably like Warren. You see a scene and you kind of know in your head what lighting and where it's coming from. And for us, you know, I see something and you just kind of, you hear it in your head. Oh, I know what I need to do here. Or, oh yeah, this needs blah, blah, blah. Or that person in the back who screams, I'm going to punctuate that person, or that punch needs to sound correct. Whatever, you know, you just figure it out almost instantaneously.
Does anybody else want to talk about some challenges and some rewarding, you know, things?
All right, I just like to touch to kind of piggyback off of what Francine was saying, is that how everyone in film and television, you know, we're all working together to you know, for a common goal, right? That's to make the best project possible, whether, you know, in features, you know, it's the director. In television, it's the writer's vision, the showrunner's vision. So that, to me, I remind the department heads and the crew, that is why we are here, to make an incredible television or feature film, right? And so and something else that Francine touched on, you know, like a lot of their different departments, you know, where it's like there are different agendas that are going on, and everybody, you know, thinks that certain departments are more important than the other. And it's like, wait, we're all trying to do this together, and that's something that I really am always, when someone tries to, oh wait, no, we're more important, I say, hey, we're all trying to do this together, from transpo to production design to costume design. We're all trying to accomplish the main goal, which is to make an incredible because I say a piece of history, because think about it, when we make something, it survives forever now, right? It's digital. It's not like with film, where film can, be destroyed, by extreme heat or cold or something like that. It's around forever, and we're all making pieces of history, and people that look like us being behind the camera as well as in front is definite history. Yeah, that's that.
I definitely have to touch on the fact that we're now seeing us behind the camera, which is even crazier, especially going on set at such a young age. I never saw anyone, not even an agent, that looked like me. I was just very confused, very shocked. And we're truly knocking down barriers, just this group as a whole, and even just, the people above us and below us, and just even on the same playing field, we're all making history somehow or another. Does anyone?
Yeah. Go ahead, Toni.
I would love to jump in about the challenges and the what could also what has turned out to be a blessing. When I art directed until about 5 years ago, and did like all the first seasons of the Marvel Netflix job, which meant I was working with the same team, did not have to change graphic designer, same production designer, same team all across the board, same construction team, same scenics. And there's a comfort in that. And one of the things that I learned from the woman I told you about before, my film mom, was she always brought somebody new on every project, which gave people an opportunity. And I remember when I first got in the industry, you had to I used to joke and say you had to wait till somebody died to get in on a film set or in the art department, because you'd fax your resume and they'd say, oh, we have our team, right? And so I always loved this woman, this art director who basically taught me always brings one person new in, at least on every project or every other project, so that somebody else got an opportunity. But what that also taught me was when I started production designing and would travel, I was really scared, because I was so used to having my, in essence, New York team, my New York construction coordinator, like the shortcuts, what we do, the understanding. And so going elsewhere in this country or outside of this country, I had to learn to trust other people and to trust the process, and it was a big learning curve for me. But it was a blessing, because then it also allowed me to see other people's skill sets and be not so controlling over it, because I can't control everything. And that was hard. That was very hard for me to learn. But it has been a blessing to be freed by that I can't bring everybody in. I can't fly everybody out from New York to wherever I'm going to go. So it was good for me.
Yeah, for me, some of the challenges, kind of piggybacking off of what Greg said, is time and budget, and especially when it comes to lighting, because there's tons of grand ideas, when the tech scout happens, and we're going to do this, we're going to have 16 condors, and we're going to do this, and when it comes down to it and you turn in a quote, then there's no money for the grand idea. So, at that point, you just have to think outside the box, and which I've done numerous of times. But, it's just a time constraint, because, you get a little bit of time, especially in commercials, to complete a lighting setup, so that, we can have as much shooting time in a day, as we can. So that becomes, a little, time constraint on my department. And a lot of departments, especially when there's no time, there's no manpower, and you just have to make do with what you have. But I love the fact that in the end, every single department just comes together, makes it happen, And like for me, that's like the reward there, because the finished product is what we all go for in the end. That's why we do what we do. Because, you know, with for a big feature, you know, the lighting affects wardrobe, the lighting affects makeup, wardrobe affects makeup, affects wardrobe, like a collective, you know, together to make this one thing happen that a lot of, you know, viewers may not know, you know, as far as what goes on behind camera. But yeah, we're all working together to make like one look really good, whether it's just like one human being and a piece of, you know, costume, you know, design, and, you know, certain type of makeup or whatever. There's so many moving pieces to make that one look correct. And for me, I just, you know, that's my reward in the end, is you know, the finished outcome, and, you know, smiles on everyone's faces, and, you know, we've all done it, you know, as a group.
Thank you, Warren. So we're going to touch on something Toni said, so I'm going to move into another aspect. You said that you had to fax over your resume for jobs. How does that, and I'll start with you, Toni, how do you find your jobs now, besides your agent? And how has that changed since you started working in regards to like just getting projects?
Well, I mean, I've just become a production designer in the past 5 years. So yes, I have an agent, but also what's happened even beyond my agent is relationships. I mean, we're all about collaborations. We will, you may work with the same line producer, executive producer, or writer or director multiple times, and have that relationship that is, you know, that has nothing to do with the agent. I'm actually laughing, Shawn. I was on a project on one of the Marvel jobs, and one of the ADs was down in Atlanta working on a project, and he texted me at 10 o'clock at night because the production designer quit. You know, and I didn't go on to it, but I mean, like, when you have working relationships with people that you love working with, and, you know, you want, I mean, I'm on a project right now where, you know, I need a really good special effects team, and everybody's busy, as they are all over. And I've been begging the UPM to hire this one guy that I worked with for 5 years. And he's busy. So I picked up and he told the UPM no. So I called him directly and he said, come on, let's just figure it out. And he's like, because you called me, Toni, we'll figure it out. So, you know, for me in particular, it at the level that I'm in right now, it's about relationships. It's about, you know, other people that have recommended me beyond my agent. And for me also, it's, for me, I'm looking at I'm at a stage where I'm starting to look at content and the stories that are being told, because I haven't been able to, in essence, say no to a lot of things, you know. Not that I don't, but you know, I now I'm more interested in telling stories and building relationships with collaborators that I'm interested in working with for the future.
Oh, I really agree with what Toni is saying. A lot of it is about networking, especially in this particular atmosphere that we're all in right now. And I have had wonderful mentors through my career. Several in particular, who are dear friends to Aggie Rogers, who was the costume designer for Color Purple, in which I was able to work and assisting her, and as a costume, in that particular time was a ladies' key costume supervisor, and my job was to costume the background and whatever day players and so forth. And also the fabulous Ann Roth, who was just, even now, just to go and get advice from my mentors. And another one is one of the first African Americans that was in the Costume Designers Guild, Violet Jones Faison. I mean, so I've had wonderful, wonderful mentors that are still around me to this day. And I also, like, agree with you totally, Toni. It is really about relationships and network. Although I have an agent, which is wonderful. A shout out to UTA, they're really very, very good. And I just also feel, for costume design, a lot of it too is about seeing those costumes and how they appear on the screen. Because many times I'm hired because of the body of the work. And I remember working with Catherine Bigelow on Detroit, and she wanted to see the costume designer that did Birth of a Nation. So that's how that came about. So it really is a network of people, relationships, and you have sometimes no idea where those will come from and where they materialize. So it is about really relationships and a good network around you of people. And many times, sometimes, a lot, it is the directors, the line producers, but a lot of times you just never know. One of my dearest friends is Willie Burton, one of the most wonderful sound mixers in the business, and who will give a heads up. Oh, Francine, I hear about this going on. Let your agent know. So it really is a wonderful, I would say, an orchestra of people that make it all happen and just continue for all of us to really learn about different things and to me that is even the the exciting part as well, just building those relationships and those friendships in the industry.
Yes, and I just thank you guys so much, Francine and Toni, because relationships, it is about that, and also a lot of people. Warren said, like, when PAs come in, I'm going to be very nice to you because you could be a producer in like 5 years. I tell everybody, you have to be nice to everyone. Do not think that just because someone is new to the industry or they're below you, that you don't you have to be nice to everyone, because you never know where that person is going to be in 5-10 years, or also who they know or who they're related to. I have seen people mess up so bad just because they thought, oh, this office PA, oh, they don't know, who are they? And it's like, yo, that is the studio head's niece, and you really messed up, but relationships. And also, like, many people can do what all of us here can do. What it boils down to, do people like you? Do people want to spend 10, 12, 14 hours a day with you? That is what it boils down to as well. Do people like to have you around them? Because we can all do, like, there are a lot of people who are really good at their jobs, but they're assholes. Let's just be real. And a lot of people don't want to work with them.
Yes.
Because they're really good, but you know what? Life is too short. And that's just, how it is. And I'm trying to think, I think there was something else, but that's basically it. Sorry. Oh, job. Yeah. Relationships. People will just, like, I have an agent. I've had an agent since 2018, but they really have only gotten me one job. Everything else has just been coming to me, just people saying they know me, and I throw a lot of opportunities to my sisters and brothers when I can't get a job, or when I can't take a job because I'm busy or I'm not ready to take something. I always pass it on to my colleagues, my brothers and sisters, people who I know can do the job just as well or even better than I can. So I always pass it on. I never keep it with me, like, say, no, I can't do it. So I always try to pass on opportunities.
I can attest to that, because Van Hayden, one of my clients, he just says how amazing and wonderful you are, and you do the same. He does the same thing for you. So yeah, I think that's amazing.
Yes, Van is awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. A couple more questions until we get to the audience questions, of course. Often when there's a discussion about representation in Hollywood, the conversation is centered around on-screen recognition with actors or possibly directors and writers. As below the line crew, do you feel like you are included in this conversation with regards to your department or the majority of production workers who are behind the scenes?
I think as for costume design, I think more and more, because costume design is really so just so many people really understand what it's about, and it's so visual. I feel that many times that is included, and it all depends as well, the costume designer, production designer, and many times I think all of us really, all of our departments, how well they feel, what they bring to the table, and their reputation. I think a lot of that has to do with it. So in many times in green lighting of film, sometimes they will include people below the line, department heads, to put the name out there that this is attached. So that can happen very much. But I feel that more and more it is all of us, a lot of department heads are really being inclusive in how certain films are even greenlit, and what is coming up where around the table. And I think that's just a major good thing, because that wasn't going on, many, many years ago. So, and especially around the table, it was hard to see a lot of, more women and a lot of people of color. So it really has broadened, I think, and that's because I feel the expansion of knowledge to what people know about the film industry. And a lot of that is social media and things that are going on just around the world. There are wonderful, wonderful films that are coming out just in amazing places. And like we, said, it has to do with collaboration and networking, and just having those friendships and those relationships. So yes, I really do, because I know when I first started going in this business, there were times I was probably the only person of color, and I rarely saw women DPs. I mean, or even production design. So it has, to me, has broadened the scope for people, has really educated and enlightened so many people to see, yes, I can achieve that. And yes, I am valuable. And like Shawn is saying, everyone is valuable, from a PA, craft service, whatever. I mean, there's been times where the craft service person got stuck on a freeway, and lo and behold, it was like, my gosh, it was transportation decided to go and get him from the freeway, drove him right into the sound stage. It was amazing. And everyone cheered. So tell me that everyone is not valued. Every last person is valued. And it takes every last person to bring that movie to the screen.
And for those who don't know, the craft service person is for want of a better term, food person, right? So everybody's going to cheer for food.
Absolutely. That brings us coffee in the morning to chill us out so we can do our job.
We love our snacks.
We love our tea. We love our bagels.
To touch on,
go ahead.
Go ahead, Greg.
No, I was just going to say, for sound, things are kind of different because we're the last element, aside from visual effects, to be added to the film. We're kind of on the tail end, so sometimes people aren't thinking about sound during pre-production. Sometimes not even, they're not thinking about post-production sound until they get towards the end of production. So it's just interesting. Sometimes I'll get a call out of the blue from somebody, hey, are you available in a month? And I'll say, well, I would love to do such and such, but I have this project going on. And sometimes things just fall into place, but it's a little different. And I was as those of you listening, I was talking to Ari in the beginning. I think, at this point, because I'm being pickier about the projects I work on, it would be probably good to have an agent or somebody to promote me so I could get in at the very beginning. But most sound people don't do that.
Yeah, I feel that lighting, definitely in the beginning is probably one of the things that comes up, when these, projects are being, thought of, because, lighting helps sell the look, and, lighting has a certain mood to it. So, when you're going for, different types of moods, whether it's happy or angry or sad or whatever, there's different levels of lighting to create those different types of moods. So I think that we are in a way being thought of in that sense, at the very beginning of it, to help sell the mood. But it's also in, you have to have a pretty good resume, and as far as who you're hiring, because like with myself, um I don't come with like a huge resume. Like in commercials, there's no resume. It's all just word of mouth. You know what I mean? It's all word of mouth. It's producers saying, "Hey, I'd work with him. There's a new DP coming into town. Let's use this Gaffer because he's done a lot of great things for us." So it's been a lot of good stuff like that. But I think that with each frame in a movie, there's always a different sort of lighting mood, and I think that's very important, at the front end of choosing to start up a film.
Amazing. One kind of like one last question. Are there any companies or initiatives you guys can point to that are an example of actions that are working and making positive changes to diversify crews below the line? I know that for me personally, I get a lot of people asking me for diverse HODs. And then once they get their diverse HOD, they're like, yeah, so we don't care who they hire. It is what it is. It's like we got the one person of color that we need. And it's just like, okay, they're gonna decide on who their crew is. And I know Toni touched on this, is like when you're comfortable with your crew, you're comfortable with your crew. And for me, my job is done. I'm like, okay, I'm out of here. Do what you guys got to do. But do you feel like there's been companies that actually have been successful with being diverse?
Oh, go ahead, Toni.
No, go ahead. I have a different answer. I don't know that I have your answer, Ari. So
Okay.
There is a program out there that's it's based in Los Angeles, called Streetlights Production Assistant Program. And I know a lot of PAs, and now first ADs that has gone through that program, which is a training program. I think it's like a 30-day course or something like that, to like really train you on set etiquette pretty much, and almost trains you in every department of the industry. And once you've passed the program, you do graduate, and they themselves start plugging you in with all these production companies and getting you jobs right away, as a PA. So Streetlights is a really good program that diversifies, because they pretty much specialize in minority hiring.
I think I also feel the Costume Designers Guild in Los Angeles and the United Scenic Artists in New York. I think both of those guilds are really encouraging and have programs for mentorship, and are able to have other seasoned designers or designers that are really working in the industry now that are becoming mentors. And that seems to be working pretty well. And I also feel that it is really sometimes about just the media that is going out. Like I said, social media, a lot of things come on, and really letting people know what is available. I know when I first got into the film industry, I was really in college. I was on my way to get my BA, and I came across an article of the film industry opening up for minority people, and really through affirmative action. And that was many years ago. It was a lot of challenges, believe me, because I think people were not, I don't think, were meant to be mean or whatever the case may be, but I think it just caused fear because, and not knowing each other. And I think that's something now that is very important for us, really, because things are so, there's an expansion and inclusion, that we are able to know who's out there and what people are doing, and how we're able to just to mentor and help and aid someone that is trying to achieve a career in the film industry, and try and point them in a certain direction and where to go. And Warren, that sounds absolutely wonderful. What you were talking about is that organization. So I'm sure, going out to, around the world or, nationally, whatever, to let people know that is, it really is available. And many times just getting a job too is a PA, which is great, because there are many PAs that have worked with me have gone on to getting, to join the Costumers Union, are now ready to get into the Designers Guild. It's just remarkable. And I just applaud all of it.
Yep.
Yeah, Streetlights is a really great program because it is focused on people of color. And I know transpo coordinators who have gone through the program, ADs, assistant directors, production coordinators. So it is very good. I just wanted to highlight one program that when it was started, it was not initially a diversity program, but it just something that has come about, and also with gender parity, the Directors Guild Producer Training Program, which I am a product of that. It is a program that is the settlers of the program are the Directors Guild of America and the AMPTP, which are the studios and the producers. And it trains you to become an assistant director and eventually to be a producer. It's a very competitive program. They only accept maybe like 10 to 15 every class. And I'll put the address in the chat, so the website and application. What was really great about it is, and I was a member, got into it in 2002, but you're put on different shows, different projects. And so you learn how each AD, director, producers work. And then you just rotate and you work, and every show is different. Just so many of you know, every show is run differently. So it's really good to just see how every show, and a great way to see what other departments work too, but it's mainly teaches you how to be an assistant director, and it's a very good program. And I'm going to put it in the chat right now, the website, so everyone knows. Yeah. And there's one in AD, there's one in New York and LA.
In United Scenic Artists 829, which is the design Francis and I are in New York. About 2 years ago, we started a program called Equity Through Design Mentorship, and it is geared towards costume, lighting, sound, set designers, graphic designers, prop makers that are students. I actually mentor at a mainly Latino junior high school in Queens, but we service the tri-state area, New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut. And not only do we team up professional 829 designers with college students, high school students, and junior high school students, but we also have Saturday sessions once a month where working professionals do a seminar similar to this. And we've been going for about 2 years. The website for that program is etdmentorship.com or etdmentorship.org. There's another program called Design Action, which are designers, costume designers, and set designers that mainly theater students, but basically that team up college students with working professionals, and it's across the country. and it's about BIPOC students. So it's about diversifying theater and film industry. And then through the Art Directors Guild in LA, there is the Art Directors Guild Initiative Program. 2 years ago, I was in Pittsburgh working on Archive 81. My PA was a student that just graduated from Carnegie Mellon. And when we wrapped in April of last year, he moved to Los Angeles. First thing I did when I got home to New York was write his letter of recommendation to get an Art Directors Guild initiative. And he has done so much work since he's been in LA and working on so many projects. And I'm so proud of him, but it's an amazing program where he's actually working and getting paid to train while he's working, and he's not a PA. He is basically, I think it's a 3-year program where by the time the 3 years are out, he's a full-fledged assistant art director, working in the industry.
Hey, Toni, is your guild, is it part of IATSE?
It 829 is under IATSE, yeah, and I'm under 829. I'm not in Art Directors Guild.
Because what I was going to suggest to people, if they're interested, is I'm in IATSE 700, which is the Editors Guild. So that's picture editing and sound editing. So I would suppose if you're interested in some aspect of the film industry, just type in IATSE and then whatever you want to get into, directing or lighting, and you'll find the guild. Once you find that guild, look them up, call them up, and ask them what kind of training programs, initiatives, various things they have. And that'll probably help you open the door. The other thing is I'm part of the Motion Picture Academy of Arts and Sciences, and their acronym is AMPAS. AMPAS.
Absolutely.
And I'm also I'm part of a subgroup called the Science and Technology panel. And Science and Technology is also bringing in diverse people, but the Academy, because of Oscar So White, is really tasked with doing more. And hey, we're among friends here, and I'll say they need to do more than they've already done. I'll just leave it at that. So I would suggest you contact AMPAS here in Los Angeles, and you may have to navigate through some operator, talking to people, but try to find out what kind of opportunities they have. I know they do have one program called the Gold program, GOLD, and that does train people, I believe, in various aspects. It's not just editing, I believe it's production.
Yes, it is, Greg, in various departments.
So that's another, way to get in.
And there is a mentorship program through the Academy as well.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, everyone. Thank you for your time today on this lovely Saturday. It's quite warm in LA. I'm not sure how everyone else is feeling in other parts of the world. But thank you again. And please continue to shed your light and shed, giving us all advice, because even for me as an agent, I'm still learning just as much as everyone else. I'm learning every single day. My clients come to me with the craziest stories and also the most enlightening stories. So thank you again for Young Activists as well, because without this program, I don't think we'd ever be able to really speak on what's going on. And yeah, I'm just gonna, if anyone has any closing, what they want to tell the audience, here's a chance.
One thing I would like to say for, I'm sure everyone that is a guest here eventually is going to go on to have a very long, fruitful career in the entertainment industry. One thing I just want to say is it's more than just having a job and everything. Also get involved in leadership in your different crafts, in your unions, in your guilds, when you all are moving forward, because that is where real change happens. It's one thing, being an activist is being a job, just having a job too, but it's so much more being a part of leadership, whether it's, in IATSE, right now in negotiations, DGA, SAG, WGA, Writers Guild, but IATSE, with the crafts leadership, because they are the one. IATSE was very instrumental in getting the back to work agreements together with the studio so we could all go back to work safely. And the leadership in those guilds are the reason why that happened. So don't just think because you have a job that's enough, it stops there. Move forward to help people that are coming behind you, make it better for them. And do that by being a part of leadership. That's just one thing I want to leave everybody with.
I love that. That's amazing.
Yeah, and one thing I'd like to say to the listeners is just just keep working hard. Never give up. Work very hard, and good things will happen. And one of my favorite quotes that I always quote and that I always tell PAs or anyone else, even my son, work hard in silence. Let your success be the noise. And that's what I go by every day. I just think it's a good motto to go by.
I love that.
Very good one, Warren. You should put that on really out there.
It's on the back of my company shirts.
You definitely, I would love a shirt.
I need a shirt, Warren.
Yeah, just text me your sizes.
I will definitely will. I think it's a beautiful quote.
I'm not going to try to.
And I agree with every last one. Oh, sorry about that, Greg.
No, I was just going to say, I'm not going to try to top Warren because I don't have a great saying like that. But I was part of a mentorship panel at a company called Formosa Group, which is the largest independent sound company in LA. And we mentored 6 young African-American young men for 10 weeks. It was a great project. And at the end, just what I'll leave you with is one of the things I told them is just about frustrations in the industry. For example, for me, there's a famous movie that's going to be redone, and it's a musical. And I had people calling me saying, "You were the absolute best person for this movie. You've done all these music movies and blah, blah, blah. You understand?" I said, "Okay." So, I put my feelers out, and I didn't get the show. And somebody got it who doesn't have my experience, but has a relationship with somebody else because it's a relationship-driven business. Now, back in the day, younger Greg would have gotten upset and why me, blah, blah, blah. But after a while, you realize that when you have the experience, that is going to bolster you. And when you have the knowledge, you just don't worry about it. You just move on to the next thing. And I told these young men, if you have a setback, don't get mad, but use the energy from that to cause you to get better. So study more, learn more about your craft. You just make sure next time you get into an interview, you go in there and you just kick ass, and they can't but not give it to you because you are so amazing. I've had instances where they didn't intend to give me the show and they did because I nailed it. I knew when I walked out, yeah, they better give me that show. So you want to be that person and just keep doing it and don't get frustrated, and you will succeed.
So, Greg, what show was that you were going?
The one I didn't get?
Well, the one that you were talking about, there was
the one that I got?
The many that you had.
There was one that I got where they weren't going to hire me called Son of the Mask, which turned out not to be a great show, but it was a big show for New Line. But I just went in there and I was just like, it was kind of a cartoony. So I was doing cartoony sounds with my voice, and he's going to come in here. He's going to go, and and I'm talking about the car. It's going to have all these spinning things, right? And the director's going, "Oh yeah, we should do that. Yeah, write that down." And so and I was just nailing it. I was just on a high, and I was like tired at the end of the interview. And he said, "Well, I was going to give it to these 2 guys because they helped me do my first film, but I have to give it to you." And I said, "Oh, okay. Well, yeah." He said, "You want to do it?" I was like, "Yeah, of course I do." And I'll even say the show I didn't get was Color Purple, the new one that's coming out. But I'm sure the crew that's doing will do a good job. They're just not mine. They're not me. But
that's the one I'm on right now, Greg.
I'm sure it'll be great.
But I just want to, for you, Greg, for sound effects. Wow. There is a movie, and I think it was, maybe it's just the young Queen Elizabeth or young Elizabeth. There was one particular costume out of the silk taffeta, and how she was moving down the hall. You could hear the swish, swish, swish of that fabric. it just really blew my mind. I just really love that sound.
And speaking of that time period, the next film I'm going to be doing is called Chevalier, about this famous black, they call him Black Mozart if you look him up on Wikipedia. This amazing violinist who was a slave child. His father, master father, brought him to France, dropped him off at a conservatory, said, "Here, teach him," and left. So he had to learn French, had to learn how to read music. And this guy is such a genius that he became a concert master, master fencer. He beat his fencing teacher, and he was a lover of many women in the court of Marie Antoinette, including Marie Antoinette. And it's just, the story is just mind-boggling. But you, Francine, would have loved to have done this show because the costuming is just amazing. It would be
it really, when I can get lost in fabric stores and textile stores, textile district. I mean, hours and hours will go by and I really don't even know it. And I'm sure everyone does that with their own particular profession. Because I know you're into that, Toni. I know all of you, Greg, you're talking about all these sounds. I know all of us in our own profession, we just, in order for us to be in this industry, because we all know that the film industry is something that is like no other industry, really. It is something, to me, that's very special. And in order to be a part of it, it does take a passion. Warren, you may not think that that you didn't have the passion, but Warren, you're very passionate about lighting design. I mean, you can't help yourself. And that's why I think we're all a part of it and want others to be a part of it, because you really do. You work very hard. It has its challenges, it can be its craziness, but my goodness, it has its extreme rewards. The rewarding thing about it is when you see that product on screen and you can see the effects of it, you know what was happening and what it took in order for that to be on screen. That I feel is really makes all of us really smile. I really do. And look at it, we're all smiling.
Thank you again, everyone. We're running a little bit behind on time. Of course, like I said, if anyone has questions, hopefully we can get some contacts out there and, reach out to us directly.
Well, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. I enjoyed it and really enjoyed it. Well, good seeing you again, Greg, and absolutely good seeing you, Shawn.
Serving Sarah, 2001.
And nice meeting Toni and Warren. Like I said, I'm thrilled to see more people that look like me, more women, and more, just wow. I'm thrilled.
Awesome.
This was great. Thank you, everyone.
Thank
Like
you.
I said, very honored to be a part of it.